Okay, we're up to here on this Sefer, it's Ois Aleph, but the way this Sefer punkt happened to divide it. So it's just a synopsis again, because we started a while ago. This is just the introduction, the psicha, and I think the main thing he wants to bring across to you is the maila of having bitachon. It's a lot of avodah, it's a lot of work. So if he sells it to you, then you'll be willing to put in the avodah. That's the whole Sha'ar haBitachon, is how to apply it and how to get it. The psicha is just, he says in the beginning, that having bitachon is pashut, it changes your life. And he says it'll make it better, sai for Torah and sai for Chayim, and being a frume yid, and just life. If you hypothetically you separate the two, chas v'sholem, and just to live. Dein Leben will be a lot different if you have bitachon. So he starts off, I told you he gives 5 advantages. He doesn't count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because there's many more. He's just bringing examples. He always says, umehem, mitayelis. From of the benefits, here are these 5 that I'm going to mention. So we already did the first 3 when it came to Torah. He started off with the ability to have peace and tranquility, to be able to focus on doing Torah mitzvahs, not relying on anything else. The second was you won't have to serve another person. Right? Your focus won't be on other people, worried about what other people are going to say, or that your money's coming from other people. It's just you and the haBitachon, and everyone else you don't have to worry about them, because it's just, and that, again, that's the advantage. If you have bitachon in the haBitachon, then that's all that matters. The third one was, again, this idea of peace of mind, that your heart and mind don't have to be involved in what you're doing. Your mind can be focused on higher, greater things. And in this aspect that you'll have peace of mind, he says, for example, and he brought the example of the alchemist, the guy who could switch regular metals into silver, gold, and he has wealth at his fingertips. Just like that, I guess that was the example in those days. The reiche mensch, he always has money. You know what? If you have bitachon, you will live the same peaceful life, the same not fardaigete life as that person. And even better. And then he lists off 10 things that, although it looks like the alchemist is living a menuchadike life, there are still things that he's worried about. From the fact that he might have plenty of gold and silver, but he needs tools to do it. It can still cause him to get sick. Lav dafka, he can buy food if there's no food there. He has to keep a secret. It can cause him to die. He's not taking anything with him. And all of these advantages, that if the person has bitachon in the haBitachon, he has the advantage of the same peace and tranquility and menuchas hanefesh and peace of mind as the alchemist, and even more because he doesn't have any of these daigas. At the end of the day, he's trusting in the haBitachon. That was the third. That was a hemshech of the third advantage. And now he continues. Mi toyeles haBitachon, another advantage of having bitachon. This is the fourth one. Be'inyan Torah, when it comes to Torah matters, ki haBiteach b'Hashem, someone who trusts in Hashem. Now, when it comes to money matters, is one of two things: either you have enough money or more money, or you don't have. Ashiris or anius. So he says like this: haBiteach b'Hashem, imu bal mamain. If he's someone who has money. So the fact that he is a boiteach, he'll be quick to spend his money on his obligations to the haBitachon, on things that are between ben adam lamokim. He'll be mahader and esrig. Lulav and esrig, he'll spend extra money because at the end of the day he's having bitachon in the haBitachon. And then the obligations that he has to share his money. We're talking Torah dik. So tzedakah, chasadim, lending money. He'll be quicker, Yimahir, the word is he'll be quicker and easier to share his money with someone else. B'nefesh chafetza, not only will he do it, he'll do it with a smile. Not, let's braid, I have no choice. He'll do it with a smile. V'ruach nidiva, with a good giving heart. So that's a big difference. Zelten happens, sometimes you go, you're collecting money, you give, a lot of times, I'm not a schnorrer, I can't talk from so much experience, but a lot of times, you go, you schnorr money, fine, you schlep out of the guy, okay, fine. Once in a while, you actually have a person who gives you money and says, Shekoyach for giving me the opportunity. Menefesh chfeitza, he's happy to give it, he knows he's just holding on to a pikadim for the Eibishter. That attitude comes from bitachon. That all comes from the Eibishter. So that's if he has money. He'll spend it easily on mitzvahs in Yonim. If he mean a Baal Mammon, and if he doesn't have money, but he has bitachon, Yireh, he'll look at it, ki chesren ha-mammon toiva. The fact that he doesn't have so much money is actually a good thing for him. Mitoiva is ha-mokim ha-lov that the Eibishter is doing for him. Mipnei, why? Shenestalku me'alav ha-choyves. Shu chayiv bohem lelikim. He has, his obligations aren't there. He doesn't have the obligations that come with the achrayus that comes with having money. It's a big responsibility. And now he doesn't have to deal with that. To the Eibishter, to other people. Miyut tirdas liboy. He has less worries, b'shmirasei v'anagasei, guarding it, how to deal with it, what to do with it. It's not easy to be a rich person. The Sikha that Rabbi spoke on Purim, I think we mentioned it before, yeah? The Maila, there's a Maila, a poor person. The Gemara says, Izaru b'vnei aniyim shemehem teitzei Torah. Be careful with the poor people, that's where the Torah is going to be found. They don't have all these distractions and focus. The rich person has mole challenges and nisyonis. At the end of the day, obviously, the Rebbe's outlook is Zoyadein sein reich. Yeah, that Purim, the Rebbe says everyone should have to deal with these challenges. But at the end of the day, it is a big challenge. The Rebbe elsewhere explains. The Gemara says Rabbi mechabed ashirim. Rabbi honored rich people. Rabbi honored rich people just because a guy's rich. It doesn't sound derech achsidus. That guy's money, you're mechabed ashirim. It's to go fake. The Rebbe explains, what does it mean Rebbe was mechabed ashirim? Because Rebbe was an usher. Rebbe mechabed ashirim. Why dafki Rebbe? Rebbe was a great usher. He was the biggest, wealthiest person in his time. He knew the challenges of being rich. At good verstanden, what the difficulties of being rich. And Eibishter only gives a person a challenge that has the koiches to overcome. He says the fact that this guy's a rich man means he has a lot of koiches from the Eibishter. There's mechabed, the koiches that this person has, the Eibishter gave him so much koiches that he should be able to overcome the challenges of being a rich person. And the first secret, the first ingredient is bitachon. That's the first ingredient to be able to deal with all the challenges. So the Chavis Halvos brings, like it says about one of the Chassidim, Shahaya Omer, he used to say such a lashon, Hakmokoim yatzileni mipizar anefesh. The Eibishter should save me from my soul being spread out all over the place. Yeah, spread everywhere. Nishtahir. I don't remember the details well, but there's a story, the Rebbe says over a story, that there was two brothers who lived in Russia. Poor people came and shared a house. And one of them decided to go to America, and he became a very rich person. And then the other brother had to collect money. He was making a chassan, his daughters. And he decided he's going to go to his rich brother in Manhattan. He went to New York, and his brother started taking him around, showing him all the things that he has to come on to what do you call those things? He has a house up, never know, a condo, one of these, there's some fancy name for it. Anyway, he's showing him all the places, his offices, and then his brother gets lost. Yes, the daven. Anyway, the bottom line is the end of the thing. He sees his brother from Russia. He's not getting all excited. He says, "What's going on over here?" So his brother tells him, "Ich verstehe nicht. There, we live amongst Yidden in one house. Come, it was ein Platz. Here, you're over here, you're over there. Ich weiß nicht, wie du halt sich aus, when I pizer an nefesh. You're all over there. There's so much you have to handle." So the chassid said, the Eibusher should save me min pizer an nefesh. At the end of the day, the rich person who has so many things, like it says, Amar sheyeli mamoin bereish kol nar. Amru loy. They said to him, Mahu pizer an nefesh. What do you mean the Eibusher should save you from pizer an nefesh? What does it mean pizer an nefesh? Amar, he said, sheyeli mamoin bereish kol nar. I have money, I have belongings, I have places, I have properties. At the end of every river, bereish kol kirya, and every city, I have so many things I have to take care of. The Baal Shem Tov says, where your machshav is, that's where you are. So your machshav is thinking about this property, your machshav is thinking about that property. So that's what the chassid was saying. Someone who doesn't have that, so that's a maila. That's what the Chachamim say in Pirkei Avos, mar b'nachasim, mar b'daiga. You have more properties, more belongings, you have more things to worry about. Someone who is rich is someone who's happy with what he has. The one who has bitachon, yasig toyeles hamomein, he will get the purpose of the money, what it's really there for. He'll get the real purposes. He'll have parnasa. And he will prevent from himself. He won't have the worries of the thoughts of the person who has so much money, and the constant worry. Like the wise man. The wise man, Shlomo HaMelech says, sweet is the sleep of the worker. Whether he eats a little or a lot. The satisfaction for the rich person doesn't allow him to sleep. It doesn't let him sleep. It's too much on his head. So the bitachon, simplicity, or even if he's a rich person, if he has the bitachon, he's relying on the Eibusher, he'll know how to deal with his money. So that's what it means. The fourth advantage is whether you have money or you don't have money, bitachon will help you deal with what you have in life. Umehem, and of them, this is paragraph Chav Gimel. This is the last, the fifth of the advantages that he lists for the Beiteach in Torah. Ki haBiteach b'Hashem, one who trusts in the Eibusher, who has real bitachon, lo yimno'enu roiv hamomein b'Beiteach b'Hashem. Having a lot of money won't take away his bitachon on the Eibusher. Pnei she'einenu soimech al hamomein. He doesn't rely and put his trust on money. Hu be'einav kipikadin, as we mentioned before, the money is like something that the Eibusher gave him to watch. Tzuva, he was commanded lehishtamish boy al panim miuchadim. He was commanded here, this is the way you should use it. Uve'inyanim miuchadim, and specific ways you should use it. Lending money or doing things with it. Lazman katzuf, for a designated amount of time. Whatever amount of time the Eibusher decided, you're his banker. The amount of time the Eibusher decided, you're going to watch it for him. But the recognition that you're not relying on the money, you're relying on the Eibusher. The Eibusher gave you a lot of money, so you do with it what the Eibusher wants. Yasmid kiyuma yatzloi. If the Eibusher is going to keep it by you for a long time, lo yivayit bavuri, you're not going to kick, you're not going to rebel, you're not going to vayishman yishurun vayivat. You're going to constantly be humbled and recognize that it comes from the Eibusher. And you're not going to constantly remind that you've done so much good to the one that you were commanded to help him. Right? The rich person who thinks it's his money, So then the fact that he shared with his money to the poor person, or he shared his money to a moisid, he wants to make sure that they're going to remember. He's constantly going to remind all the times and how much he gives that, but he's not. The one who has bitachon is not going to do that, because he recognizes that it's all the Eibishter's. It all comes from the Eibishter. He's not going to request, he's not going to ask that people should give him acknowledgement and praise. It's important to mention, though, that this is about the noisein. The noisein shouldn't be running after getting haidah, the shevach, but the recipient does have his chayvus of hakaras hatoiv. You do have to give thanks. Gemara says, "Chamra lemara tevusa l'shakya." Yeah, the wine belongs to the owner. You still have to say thank you to the butler to give it to you. You can't say, the one who's receiving it can't say, "Oh, it's the Eibishter's money. I don't have to tell him thank you. It comes from the Eibishter. Well, he's just a banker. He's just a shliach." So the word is, no, you have to give, the one who gets it has to give hakaras hatoiv. He can't look at it that he demands it and wants it, and everyone has to give it to him. He deserves it mitzad, he's giving away from his own. Avol, rather, he acknowledges his creator, he thanks the Eibishter Yisbarach, that Hashem gave him the opportunity to be a cause for all this good, and he appreciates it. That's when he has the money. And if he loses the money, it happens. Ashiris is a galgal achoizer. Yeah, the Gemara says you should always daven for this midah, because if it doesn't come to you, it'll come to your children. If it's not to your children, your grandchildren. It doesn't. It constantly moves. So at some point in time, he loses the money. Someone who's a beiteach b'Hashem, im yoivad mimenu, if he'll lose the money, lo yidag v'lo yeval l'chesroina. He won't worry and won't mourn, won't be broken by his loss. Achumoide lelikov, he acknowledges, he thanks the Eibishter bekachtoi piktoine meitoi. When the Eibishter takes what he gave him to watch from him, just like he thanks the Eibishter for giving it to him. Again, someone who trusts in the Eibishter, not a hemshich to what it says, a new thing. The one who trusts in the Eibishter will be happy with what he has. He'll be happy with whatever he's left with. And he's also not going to try to harm someone else. And he's not going to be jealous of what another person has. He's not out to get other people. He's not fighting. He's constantly recognizing everything comes from the Eibishter. I said that. Like Shlomo Melech said, Tzadik oichel l'soiva nafshe. Tzadik eats and he's satisfied. So he recognizes that everything comes from the Eibishter, and as long as he's able to give to other people, it's a schus. And again, the bottom line is that he's trusting in the Eibishter. So this is another reason why bitachon allows for a person to live a good, peaceful life. All of these things that he mentioned so far all have to do with Torah advantages. Now he says we're in Ois Chaf Hey.
Can I ask you, what's the connection of the last pasuk which I said before?
Because he's happy with what he has. He's whatever he eats is l'soiva nafshay. So it's like it's a washer chelkei. A tzaddik is happy with what he eats, and that satisfies him.
That means even if he has a little,
He's also happy. Chafei ach Toyalis haBitachon ba'olam. The advantage is that there is in olam hazeh. Lav dafke Torah perspective. Pasha to live a life. Again, I'm telling you, his nakuda is he wants to convince a person to put in the effort. This is what I believe. He wants to convince a person to put in the effort to work on having bitachon because it's pashut worth it. You'll change your life, not only as a frum yid, but as a living being. Bitachon ba'olam mehem. So first of all, menuchas. Again, 5. He's going to tell you 5. First one is menuchas halev min adaigas ha'ilamiyos. You have relaxation, peacefulness from the worries, the physical, the olam hazeh worries. Vashalva minidnun hanefesh v'tzara, and peace from the nidnud hanefesh means the movement of the soul, the constant up and down, like meinoyach, the tirdas aparnosas, the waters, the rushing waters, the nidnud hanefesh, are all over the place, up and down, and trying to make sure you have everything you need, which causes a lot of tsar, because you don't have your physical desires, and it gets all down. It's quiet, relaxed. You pasha live a peaceful life, like it says, Baruch HaGever Asher Yiftach BaHashem. Trust is the person, blessed is the person that trusts in Hashem. V'haya Hashem Yiftachoi, and his reliance is on the Eibishter. V'Amar says in another pasuk, V'yokei Shasu al Paragimayim, just like a tree, Almayim, just like a tree that is planted near the water. V'Yuval Yishalach Sharashav, and the roots go to the stream. Yeah, a tree needs water. Needs water to survive. So if you put yourself in the imagination of a tree, you get planted in some Fashikta land, then every day the tree has to worry, is there going to be water? Am I going to be thirsty? Am I going to get water? Am I not going to get water? The tree that's planted near the river, he has no daigas. Everything's there for him. So the same thing. Bitachon is like the stream for the tree. Bitachon is your survival, is your water. Trust in the Eibishter, everything will be taken care of. So, first and foremost, relaxation, peace and tranquility. Umehem, another advantage, second advantage is, menuchas hanefesh mileches badrachim harechoikim. This is an interesting thing. He says like this. Having bitachon, that the Eibishter is the one who gives you parnasa, again, just from the perspective of parnasa, will allow you to be calm and stay in one place, not have to travel all over the world. Especially in the olden days, traveling was a lot more dangerous, and even now there's still tirchas haderech, but it was much more complicated, obviously. So if you have bitachon Eibishter, you won't have to go all over the place. Asheri mechala agufos, traveling ruins the body. Mimaheres hashlomas yimei achayim, it quickens the end of life. One of the things, wear and tear on the body, gufu, benefesh, the traveling. My strength was weakened, was taken out by traveling. Kitzayomai, shortened my days. So traveling, why do people travel? Why do you have to go from one place to the next? Machna parnasa, the salesman, he's traveling, he's going from here, he's looking for parnasa from one place to the next. He won't have to do that. V'omar v'nemar al echad min aprushim. So the story, this is what the Chivrus Halova says, the story is told about one of the prushim. The prushim were people who separated themselves from Elam Hazeh, dedicated themselves to sitting and learning Torah and davening, and nothing to do with Elam Hazeh. So one of these prushim, he went to a very far place to look for parnasa. Betchilas prishus say this is in the beginning. In other words, he didn't yet settle staying in one place. He was still used to his old drachim. You go from one place to the next, and he went to look for parnasa. Paga adam echad me'oivdei kechavim ba'ir asher halach elah, and he met a guy who worshipped avodah zarah. A guy who worshipped avodah zarah in the city that he went to. Amalei parush. So the parush said to this Ovid Avodah Zarah, Kama atem betachlis oivonim. How blind are you? Miut avona. So foolish. So lack of understanding. V'avidaschem lakechavim, that you worship the stars. Narishkeit. Tipshus. Yeah, what can they do for you? Yeah, you know the Gemara where Ravash, I think it was Ravashi, asked the Melech Yehuda came to him in a dream with a taina. How can you call us your friend? You know the story. The Gemara, it's in Sanhedrin. They were learning Mishnayos, where it says then it says Ve'elu she'elam chelik le'elam haba, and it says a couple of not sure if it's Menashe. It says a couple of kings ein lem chelik le'elam haba. So the Moira, because Ravashi was teaching his Talmidim, he said, okay, we're stopping here for today. Tomorrow we'll continue learning about our chavedim, about our chavedim.
He doesn't have
His chavedim, he meant the Malcha Yehuda. The Pashtus, if you read through Navi, you're learning slowly with slowly. If you read through Navi, it's a book of they kept destroyed, killed. It looks like there are a bunch of he wanted to explain that they're also they did Avodah Zarah, but they were grace at Talmidei Chachamim and Lomdim and otherwise maybe Shemer Terei Mitzvahs beside that. So he said Chavedim. The Gemara says that night in a dream he came to him and he says, "A chutzpah, you're calling me Chavedim." He was not angry. He was doing it l'toiva to pick them up. He came to him with a taina. How are you calling us? You're our Chavedim. Then the Gemara says he asked him when you make the bracha on Lechem Mishnah, which part of the challah do you cut? He says, I don't know. He says, you don't know which part of the challah to cut, and you're calling yourself Chavedim. So he says, tell me which part of the challah to cut, and I'll chazer it over tomorrow. That's what it says in the Gemara. Pashtus, if they say in David Bakever, it's good, I'll chazer over for you. Yes, tell me. Anyway, he told him the well done part of the challah. So then he said back to Menashe, he says, now that this, let me ask you a question. You're so insulted and so upset that I had the audacity to call you my Chavedim. Tell me, how are you Ovid Avodah Zarah? It's a foolish thing. You have Ovid to Evan to Eight. There's no logic to it. How'd you do it? So he said, if you would live in my generation, you would pick up your coattails, the end of the coat, and you would run after me to worship Avodah Zarah. That's the story. He asked him, what did he tell him? You would have done the same thing. In other words, that was the Yetzer Hara of those days. It was difficult. It doesn't have to make sense, but that was the Yetzer Hara. So this Porush is asking, why are you doing it? Amar lo Amgushi. So he said back to him, Amgushi is like a name that's given for Eved Avodah Zarah. He said back to him, Ma'ata Eved? Well, tell me. And what do you worship? Amar lo Porush. The Porush said, I serve the Creator, Hayochol, the Omnipotent, the one who can do everything, Hamechalkel, the one who gives sustenance, Ha'echad, the one, Hamatriv, who gives Parnasa, She'en Kamoyu, there's no one like him. Amalei Amgushi. So Amgushi says back to him, Pa'olcha, so he says Dvarecha, Ashen Drasha, but your actions contradict your words. Gets me like answer Drasha, you're worshiping the Eibishter who can give Parnasa, and he does everything, but your actions contradict that. Amalei Aparish, the Parish said, hey, how do my actions contradict that? Amalei says, I don't understand. Ilu haya mashamarta emes. If what you're saying is true, haya matrivcha beircha. So he would have given you Parnasa where you are. Why'd you come all the way over here for Parnasa? The grace of Eibishter can do al kol yochol. Why are you coming here? Let him feed you over there. He can do anything. Just like he gave you here. You wouldn't have made such a long trip to travel to this place just to get Parnasa. He didn't have what to say. He went back home. Decided, that's it. He's going to have Pardish, and he never left his city. The Eibishter can support him where he is. In other words, there's no reason to go anywhere. Now, truth, yeah, no one should travel anywhere. So Rabbi Yaakov Emden has a big shaila on this, and he says about himself, first of all, I didn't have parnasa, and I had to schlep sich from one place to the next. Not mi miut bitchoini bikoini chalila. I didn't move from one place to the next because I was lacking in my bitachon in the Eibishter, but it was a gzeira from the Eibishter. People have to go from one place to the next. He brings from the Chachamim say, man de bishle b'hai masa. For someone who is bad in one city, lezel masa achrisa, he should go to another city. Sometimes the Golos helps a person for his Averis. Our Aves were on the move and they didn't have, there was a hunger here and they went from there. What are you saying? He asks this question. He gives a different explanation for why the Parush moved. But his Nakudi is that, what are you saying? That you're going somewhere else is already a siman of lack of bitachon. He argues. So the truth, I'm not answering between these great people, but I found once a story. The Frierdiker Rebbe writes in a letter that there was a chassid who grew up in Polotsk, and he was a silversmith. He worked on watches, and he moved from his city to a new city, Vladimir. That's where he was able to get better parnasa. He moved there because he's looking for parnasa. So he came to the Rebbe Maharash. It was his Rebbe. One of the times he already moved to Vladimir, so he came to the Rebbe Maharash. The Rebbe Maharash asked him if he has kvi sitim, berabim. Is he learning with the people in the city? The Chassid says he has kriyasitim for himself. He learns for an hour. He has to prepare kriyas Torah. No one else knows how to learn the Torah. And chazan, there's no one. And whatever, there's a couple of people who can be chazan and the sheikhet, but Balkaida there isn't. So he has to be. And he said the people who live in Vladimir are pashut, simple people who know nothing. They were from the Kantonisten. They speak Russian. And most of them don't know how to daven. They just say Amen. They come know how to say Berchas Torah. So the Rebbe Maharash asked him, so why'd you go there? Why'd you leave Polotsk, Ir ve'ein b'Yisrael, and you went to a city Vladimir? There's no Yidden, it's a city that's empty of Yedei Torah. So the Chassid says, I'm doing my work there. I'm a silversmith. I fix watches. Yeah, my heart hurts me that I left from my city of Polotsk, where there's so many yeshivas. So what should I do? My parnasa wasn't good there. So I asked, and Rebbe, he says, Rebbe, I asked the Rebbe. The Rebbe was masking for me to leave. The Rebbe gave me a bracha. Baruch Hashem. The bracha was Niskayim, and I have my parnasa there, B'shufi. So the Rebbe Maharash answered him and said, Tu hast atos, you have a mistake. Not for your parnasa gashmis did the Eibishter send you to Vladimir. One who trusts the Eibishter and Ashgacha Pratis understands that for parnasa gashmis, the Eibishter will not schlep a Yid with his whole family from a Yiddish shtad to go to a place where there's amaratzim, people who don't know anything. So you think that your business and your job is to take care of silver. You're making a mistake. The job of a Yid is Torah v'avodah. In other words, sometimes a person does have to move. And he thinks he's moving for his parnasa. But if the focus is on bitachon and the Eibishter, then there'll always be the recognition that, no, it can't be that I moved to this place for parnasa. It's always a deeper reason. To mekarev nach Yidden, to mefarsem elikus ba'olam. At the end of the day, that's why the Eibishter sends us. Echad l'Bavaria, Echad l'Britannia. The Eibishter sends Yidden to be malakit all the nitzutzos. That's the real reason why you work. And that you'll be able to see if you have bitachon.